The crypto markets are on fire. Bitcoin has recently hit its all-time high, closing in on $100,000. Almost every asset in the top 100 is in growth mode right now, with some parabolic gains. There's lots of excitement, but how do we make sense of this market? What if you're just new to the space and you don't know where to start? In today's conversation with Sam, we're going to walk through where the state of the market is right now. Is it too late to invest? How to invest? What tools and technologies you need to enter to this market? How you can avoid scams and avoid the overwhelm that comes with learning something new like this and all the technical barriers that come with it. We're also going to be sharing some exciting news about our brand new Navigating Digital Assets course, which is happening this Thursday evening live. We're going to be recording a 3-part series to help you really get the fundamentals of how to enter this market safely, securely, and confidently. So if you'd like to find out more about that, you can go to weareelevate.org/NDA. For now, here's my conversation with Sam at this important stage of the market. Sam, there's lots of people who have yet to take their first steps into the market, whether they're concerned about scams or the volatility, or they still don't see it on the same level as the traditional financial investment systems, whether it's stocks, shares, or traditional savings. What do you think some of the barriers are to people entering this market right now at this critical juncture?
Well, I think, Dan, it's still those two main things of fear and confusion, and the stories they've heard, the misinfo, disinfo, or scare stories. And at this time in the market, it's crucial that people understand. So you're absolutely right, Dan. There are far more people now waking up to it. Maybe they've learned about it before, but they're seeing this explosive price action, which we've been talking about for months, is very predictable at a certain level because we're where we are in the cycle. But for those new people who are maybe thinking of jumping in the market, it's crucial they understand and get educated first so they can enter this market in an empowered way. Firstly, to avoid scams. Secondly, to do it properly and securely and understand the process involved and what they need to know to get involved safely and securely. And thirdly, to understand where one is in the cycle so they can allocate funds appropriately to their situation, understand the risk reward ratios, where the market is likely headed. And when you put all that together, it can transform their experience rather than jumping this market just because they've got that classic FOMO down, which you see a lot when the market starts heating up, this fear of missing out, jumping in. But if you don't know what you're jumping into, that can be as dangerous as not jumping in and missing out from the big game. So it's important to get educated. And that's really what we've always been passionate about doing, is educating people so they
Yeah, let's
can
talk
do
about that
that.
FOMO a little bit because it's understandable. We're seeing the regular price updates now, and there's a lot of excitement about where the market is going. And the fact that I've just mentioned, the top 100 assets are all up, meaning that quite literally, if you bought any one of them in the last 30 days, they would have produced a return for you, and a return that is higher than really you can get anywhere else in the traditional savings markets. Okay, there are some stocks that might deliver that kind of return, but it's a very rare asset class at this stage of development that offers that level of return. But of course, when people see that, they understand the volatility and the risk. So there's two things I want to address. Firstly, I'd like to address the question of, is it too late? Because, when people are hearing of all-time highs, if people have been burnt before and they've bought at the top and sold as it descends, they're obviously losing money. So there's a real fear there about being too late and therefore buying at this stage of the market. So let's address that part first, and I'll come back to the second concern that I'd like to speak about.
Absolutely, Dan, because a lot of people get into crypto without really knowing what they're getting involved with, because maybe a friend said, "Oh, it's exciting, get in." They get on that FOMO, and I always said, if prices are going up, there's two things. I don't really care what they hold or why it's going up. They're fine with that. But if it starts going down, they're rightly worried about what they actually hold and why it's going down. But when you can get educated and understand all this, you are making the intangible tangible, and you're going in there in a way where that knowledge transforms your experience to be a proactive and productive participant in the market rather than somebody who's just riding a wave that they're scared they're going to miss. And that really changes everything, Dan,
Yeah, and where
fundamentally.
do you think we are in this cycle then? Are we near the top of the market? Is there still time to go?
Well, certainly we're entering that fourth year of the 4-year cycle, where historically Bitcoin has its most parabolic moves, its biggest growth moves, and essentially, the whole market moves with Bitcoin. So the whole market moving is predicated on Bitcoin, almost regardless of which asset you buy within the crypto market. There are so many, it's confusing people, but understand the general trend in this last fourth year of a 4-year cycle is for the biggest growth to happen. But you need to understand the risk rewards of different assets. What it's like having exposure to Bitcoin or Ethereum, or as you go further down the risk curve, into a lot more of the smaller altcoins, what the potential possibilities are, but also the risks associated with them. Because as we said, Dan, there's such upside available, but you can't have the yin without the yang. Such upside is possible because the drawdowns can equally be, very, very powerful. So getting a picture of that allows you to build a portfolio thesis that fits your situation, your goals, your risk profile. All those ingredients are going to be totally unique to you, but understand the fundamentals of the hows and whys. You need to get that first before you're even able to kind of analyze, the market and how it might fit to you. So there's no skipping that first educational step. And actually, that's where the real value is, Dan, because that's what will save you a lot of money from scams by getting clear and educated, and also potentially give you the opportunity to make much more wealth because you know what you're involved with and you know where you can position yourself based on your own situation. So again, I've met so many people over the last 4 years giving talks who got involved with crypto and didn't understand what they're involved with, how it functioned, even how their assets were stored or where they were stored, Dan. And all of these things that are the problems that lead to people making losses or losing funds or just being stressed through the whole process. Whereas people who've got a real clear understanding early on are in a completely different position. And that's what's so vital to do, is invest in your education before you invest
Yeah,
in the
and there's a
market.
paradox at the moment with, I mentioned that the top 100 assets are all up in the last 30 days, but that includes a whole range of different assets, including things like meme coins, which are very trendy at the moment. And I think there's a risk that, if your friend or your family member says, "Oh, you should get this coin, this asset because it's really rapidly growing," how important is it to learn how to appraise an asset under those conditions? Because it's very easy just to take a tip from a friend, but that could be very risky if you don't understand the market and what you're investing in.
It's really important, Dan, because as I said, people don't care what they hold if they catch it and it's going up and they feel like a genius just because they bought it at a certain point in the cycle. Because that's what I'm really passionate about, showing people where an asset's come from and where its possible roadmap ahead is, rather just arriving, having no idea of the past or the potential future. And also weighing up, you're absolutely right, the different qualities within this vast asset class. Now, many people, quite understandably, will be looking at Bitcoin for its pure essence and qualities that are very easy to understand once you've done the education. You may be new to that even, but once you've got hold of Bitcoin, that's your first protocol, and then you start to understand where other assets are placed in that hierarchy, what their roles in the potential future are, and whether they are, something that might suit you well as a short-term investment or something that actually could have long-term growth and stability over time. And it's such a confusing world for new people, Dan, that it's really important to get educated and understand those, like I said, the risk rewards, and rather just jumping in blindly. And this is what gets people in trouble every 4 years, is that as we see this, the awareness of the market getting, heating up extraordinarily in extraordinary ways, the parabolic moves, you get a whole lot of people who weren't interested before, or perhaps they were curious. Suddenly that FOMO does think, okay, I want to get involved. And that's where it becomes dangerous, because they may get involved in highly volatile projects that don't have a long-term, growth ahead of them, or they're very uncertain futures, and they're buying them very late in a cycle, nearer the peaks. Okay, and so understanding this is what can really mitigate all those risks. And you, it's not about avoiding all risk; it's about knowing the risks you're taking, and also, being able to match up the risk reward with your own, um, your own risk profile, but also your own, almost your own way of being, Dan. How much you want to be involved in this market, how active you want to be, how passionate you are to track it, or do you want to be more passive and keep it simple? So I always say there's no right answer in anything in life, because it's personal to you. The first step is to get educated, and then once you have the facts and the knowledge, you can then put that through your own filters and find how you might want to be involved in a way that works for you personally. So there's never a straight formula, but there is certainly a lot of baseline education you get that then enables you to create a formula that's going to
Absolutely. So
work
if the
for you.
first question is, what asset should I buy? Then the second question becomes, how do I do it? Yeah, how big are the technical barriers to people looking to enter the market for the first time?
Well, they're not huge, Dan, but they do take time to learn if you want to do it correctly and not get in trouble. So obviously the key thing is to avoid scams. A lot of people talk about, being put off about getting involved in crypto, but essentially most of the scams are not crypto's fault. They are just pure scams, and scams exist in any marketplace in the world. So there are always people in shark investor waters in a new industry looking to hoodwink people who don't understand what they're doing, which is why, again, education means you can avoid those scams. And secondly, a lot of the language is a barrier, isn't it, Dan? So trying to demystify the language and just put it in simple terms so that essentially most people are very used to using their internet banking. But actually, if they could start to look at crypto and understand that, in the way they use apps for internet banking, for storing assets, for trading, you can apply a lot of those principles to crypto, but the language is different and some of the functions are slightly different. But overall, it is all very doable, but it's important to get that baseline knowledge. As I've said, Dan, there are so many people who may have been involved in crypto without ever understanding, who don't understand how their wallets work. And I always talk about self-custody as a real critical aspect of crypto, so that you control your assets, you protect them. But understanding how that works gives you A, peace of mind that you do it correctly, and B, peace of mind that you actually understand how that works, so you're not confused. Because if you're going to own an asset, particularly one that could appreciate a lot, you want to understand where you've stored it, how you've secured it, how that technology works. And it isn't rocket science, and it is a new burgeoning asset space. It's confusing when you're new, but if you can get it broken down into simple language and make it tangible, you can start to see again, Dan. Because I always say it feels like this kind of confusing thing up here in the cloud, but if we can bring it down to something we can actually visually see, break down, and start to understand it as you would understand doing moves in the banking sector, then it is accessible. But it is those crucial baseline, going from 0 to 1, having that baseline knowledge, and then you can build from there. Because it is a bottomless new topic, but essentially the basics are something you can get hold of in a few hours if you really put your attention to it and you get the right resources, and that will transform your journey wherever you go with it, both in short term and
Yeah,
a
there's
long
lots
term.
of talk about institutions now coming into the market, talk about the Bitcoin and the Ethereum ETFs, which are different funds. Do you need to be wealthy already to enter to this market, or can anyone now enter this market?
Well, no, I think that's one of the beauties, Dan, that the barriers to entry are extremely low. And that may change in the future. That's a whole nother topic. It's another rabbit hole about how things will evolve in the future. But right now, one is able to enter this market at the level that one feels comfortable with, whether it's with, $20, £20, €20, or 2,000 or 20,000 or 200,000. Your ability to do so is up to you, and that's what makes it a very democratic process in terms of you are able to enter the market without being an accredited investor or having to give real onerous paperwork to some investment firms. One is able to enter this market very easily once one has the tools in place and knows what they're doing. And equally, what's really interesting, Dan, we're at a unique point in history where usually in traditional markets, understanding this is a brand new market, often you get a lot of the big future assets of the world, future companies that are being built. You get venture capitalists coming in and picking them up when they're very cheap, just starting out, and they build up these assets, build up these companies, and then they might sell them, sell their stock or dump their stock on the stock market once they've already grown 10, 20,000%, and they walk away. What's so interesting about crypto is one has the ability to come in and almost front run some of the big venture capital money that's starting to come to this market, but will come to this market in droves when it's fully regulated. And actually, right now, there's a window in history where we can front run a lot of that money by entering the market, buying up some of these assets ourselves and taking them self custody. And that's where we are in history. And it's a really interesting point to understand, so that you can take advantage of this window that could be closing
Okay, so
over
let's
time.
recap and take stocks. We discussed that there is an existing opportunity in the market within its phase of growth. There's lots of excitement around the growth at the moment, but we can still see that there's potential within this particular cycle and certainly longer term. Understanding which assets to prioritize and to appraise and how to appraise assets is really important. And then understanding the tools, the jargon, and all the different technology sets in order to safely and securely enter in the market is vital. So recognizing these things and understanding that there's still a lot of people who've yet to take their first few steps in the market, we're planning something very important this week, Sam, on how to help people to navigate those three components. Tell us a little bit about what we've got in store this Thursday night.
Yeah, Dan, we're going to update the Navigating Digital Assets course that we launched
Yeah,
probably about 2 years
2022.
ago
Yeah.
now. It maybe yeah, in the depths of the previous bear market that we've now come through into the bull market. What we really want to do is update that, and we're really keen to do that because I'm seeing around me a rush of fresh interest into the market, And like I said, what concerns me is that people are going to enter this market, without having their eyes fully open and empowered. And that is the biggest risk. So essentially, we've updated the course, brought fresh content, um, got feedback from a lot of the people who've taken the previous course to improve it, crystallize it. We've added lots more elements. And obviously, it's updated, Dan, because that was 2 years ago. Now, a lot of what I talked about 2 years in the course has come to pass. So that's reassuring that we're on the right track. Everything we've talked about is playing out as we discussed it would. But obviously, there's new data points, there's new things we can look at, and so it's really updated for today for people who are curious to get into crypto, Bitcoin, but they're maybe still nervous or confused, and it's really to give them opportunity to get ahead of the game, essentially in a couple of hours of clearly defined modules, both with slides, both of me talking through them, that they've got that ability to get so far ahead of the game with holistic grounded knowledge that covers both the practicalities, Dan, and the bigger picture about the future roadmaps ahead, the likelihoods, trajectories, and understand, this asset class as a whole, what its potential is, and what's involved within it. Because as you said, it's much more than just Bitcoin these days, but it's important to understand the difference between Bitcoin, the altcoin market, the risk rewards, what's happening. So essentially, it's something that's going to fast track somebody from 0 to 1 without having to trawl through hundreds of different YouTube channels, not sure if they trust different, channels, what they're saying. As I've always said, there's great info out there. There's also a hell of a lot of hyperbole, confusion, and really, I'm trying to make a one-stop place where you can get a holistic view of both the practicalities and the bigger picture, so that by the end of that course, you really know where you are and you're empowered to say, okay, I'm ready to take my first steps at a way that works for me, and I know the roadmap to go on that. And that's what we're delivering. We're going to deliver it live on Thursday night, and also obviously have that as an ongoing resource. Anybody who buys the course has lifetime access to it, can watch it, rewatch it, and it's a real powerful tool to begin your journey into this asset class, which I've always said, Dan, this is not a fad. This is not something that's going to go away. Understanding it, whether you get involved now or invest in it, or even just need to understand it so you're clear about what's happening in the world, is going to be very beneficial. Because when you understand that this is actually the baseline of the future internet, what we call Web 3.0, this is is a paradigm shift across the world, across all industries, our lifetimes. I'd argue it's very worth understanding it at this stage ahead of time. And if you do so, you are being a pioneer, because you are ahead, even by listening to us have this discussion or take the course. You're probably ahead of about 95% of people in the world, and you will be by the end of the course vastly ahead of 95% of the world's population in your understanding, your clarity about, what this market is and where it could
Okay,
be headed.
Sam, it all makes sense to me here. And like every great philosopher, you have a beard, which is an important trust marker. But yeah, what separates you from every just random guy on the internet? What's different about your approach that really will help people get through this initial and important education and empowerment stage of understanding how to navigate the market?
Well, I can only go by the feedback of others, Dan, and the feedback I've had since beginning, giving my talks on this topic 4 years ago, and the course, is that I'm able to communicate complex, both in the macro financial world and within crypto, quite complex structures in a simple way to demystify them. So it may be that obviously I'm standing on the shoulders of many, many giants, and I try and, my research goes deep in all angles. It's very holistic, but I want to be able to translate that to a lay audience, Dan. And I often say that hopefully I'm a bridge between the real, maybe tech geniuses who are deeply immersed in this space for many years, whereas I'm somebody who can absolutely relate to somebody who's coming in fresh and new. I can relate to what that's like. Okay, so I remember that, I know that, and for me, what I want to do is be able to translate all that I've learned from my deep study to a lay audience and make it accessible. And always say, make there no barriers to the understanding, make it tangible. And that is a real problem in this crypto space, is how can one understand it coming from 0 and getting to that 1? Now, some people will then think, okay, I want to go on and learn more, and you can do that. Without getting that foundation, you can get lost very quickly, Dan, and many people do. So I think, as I always say, I have to go back on people's feedback. That's the feedback I've had. And also, I'm very holistic. I'm not here promoting crypto. I'm here educating about it. I'm not a crypto purist. I understand the good, bad, and the ugly side of this technology, because at the end of the day, it's a neutral technology. and it has the full spectrum use cases within it, I'm here to talk about that rather than to promote it. So I have no vested interest in saying, get involved with crypto. This is the way to go. All I'm saying is I want people to get educated about it. And also, what really is powerful is getting educated about it actually helps you to get educated about the bigger financial system, the problems with it, the issues with it, and where we can harness blockchain's power to use the positive side of it to benefit our lives, benefit our communities, and harness that power rather than be a victim of maybe some of the other aspects of some of the bigger players how they'd like to use it. Dan. So again, it's really about education so that we can understand how we harness it and how we're vigilant about the issues and problems of this technical shift in other, at the other end of the spectrum. And that's what I'm delivering in all my talks and my workshops and
Yeah,
in
and
my
will people, if
courses.
they take part in the live experience, will they have the opportunity to get their questions answered on Thursday?
Yeah, we're going to definitely have some Q&A, and that's really important. And again, that's why also, Dan, we've also got the Navigate the Financial Reset ongoing support program that people who often have done the course then move into that program because that's something we're doing twice a month with calls, Q&A to deepen the learning, continue the journey. So that's almost the next step. But the important first step is obviously to get the fundamentals understood. And then once you can see, then it's going to bring up more questions. You're going to ask better questions from a more informed
Yeah,
standpoint.
presumably a course that's this comprehensive yet concise and with the interaction would be quite expensive for people to join.
Uh, well, I think it's incredible value, Dan, because a lot of courses are extremely expensive out there, and what we've always wanted to do is make it accessible to anybody. Often people don't realize the value till they've done it, so they feel like, okay, we're charging just £29 for this new course. It's usually £49, but we want it to be accessible to people who are not sure, they've got doubts because they haven't got that conviction now and they want to learn. So it's really, as I've always said, people then often see the value afterwards. But the value really comes from if you are getting involved in crypto, just by doing this course and getting a listing, then it will save. I know it has already, Dan. We spoke to people. It's saved them some very expensive scams, and it's also enabled a lot of people to build really strong portfolios that are already in huge profit since taking that course. So the value is extraordinary. We want to make it accessible. We have. So literally, you could join for £29. You come to the live session on Thursday. Even if you can't make the live session on Thursday, you pay up. You've got that in the members section. You're there. You can watch the course at your leisure, rewatch it whenever you want. So, and we've got bonus. We've also put a lot of bonus material in there, Dan. So up-to-date workshops about the current bull run, the scope, where we are in it. So there's enormous amount of resources in there, all in one place for you. That's I think it's an
Yeah,
incredible
I
offer.
mean, to be honest, it's probably the best £29 you can spend right now. The reality is, we recorded the first course back in 2022. At which point, since that point, the price of Bitcoin has risen by 5 times. It was around 20,000 at the point where we recorded that course, and it's now close to 100,000. And of course, those who made informed choices about their investments at that stage, some of our members have made significant, and some have even made life-changing amounts of money from their investments. And again, we don't like to position this as the monetary side, because there are plenty of people out there who are trying to sell some sort of get rich quick scheme. That's not what this is about. This is about understanding the asset class and understanding how you can be formed and empowered to make decisions based upon your own risk profile, your own goals, and understanding the market and where it fits into your own aspirations. But certainly the opportunities are there. So if you are looking to build greater financial independence, you're looking to escape maybe your job and you want to find different ways to fund your lifestyle, then investment in different asset classes is going to be one route to do that. And understanding the basics, the fundamentals, is going to be really, really key. So as Sam said, you can join the course for £29. It'll be reverting to £49 after this promotional period. But you'll have full access to the live session. That course will then be broken down into 3 modules and its individual lessons, which you can download and view it at your leisure. As Sam said, you get lifetime access, and for all our existing members, and over 500 people have already done the first course, they will then get all the updates. So as we update the course again in the future, you will also get those updates. So it's a great opportunity. If you're on the edge right now and you're looking at what's happening in the market, you're worried that you're going to miss out. But on the other side, you're worried that you don't know how to access the market securely, or you're worried about scams, then this is a great way to learn. Of course, we live in a wonderful time now where there is so much information on the web. In fact, there's almost too much information to make sense of it all and actually find what you can trust. So this is a wonderful three-part, three-module program that will take you through the very essential fundamentals to help you really navigate this market. So in order to take advantage of what Sam has talked about today, you just need to go to weareelevate.org/NDA. That's NDA for Navigating Digital Assets. You can join us live on Thursday night. We'll also have the chance to get your questions answered. But if you can't make it live, don't worry. As we said, the existing course is already there inside of the membership site, so you can have a taste of what's already available. But then as soon as the session is done, we'll be going into post-production and uploading all the modules and lessons, which you can then access on demand anytime on any device. So any parting words, Sam, before we go live tomorrow night?
No, just exciting times, but a great time to get educated. And I really designed this course, in mind of what would I have loved to have had when I began my journey. I know it would save me a lot of it would have saved me a lot of money and some stress as well, Dan. And I think what I'm trying to do is bring together everything I learned over a long period and really just condense it into a real accessible something you could actually be there in a couple of hours and fast forward and fast track something that took me a long time down lots of different dead ends and problems and that's where I like to learn. But some people are less pioneering, want to do it on their own. They want to get really clear. You can then go and pioneer down all the different angles that may come off this course, but this is a great first step and a first entry place to get holistically empowered, understand this paradigm shift, because it's a huge paradigm shift that's happening with blockchain across the world and really is going to help you make the most of it and take advantage of the positive
Absolutely.
sides.
So we hope you see you live on Thursday night. So again, it's weareelevate.org/NDA. It really is a great time to start your journey on this amazing asset class as it begins to grow. It really is still in its infancy and there's a long road ahead. So what better time than now to get started? So thanks very much for tuning in. Please do share this. If you know people who are looking to get into the market or you need additional support, then please do share this episode and the link to the course. Thanks again, Sam. It's been great talking with you.